My name is Leah Murray. I am the Executive Director of the Shelton McMurphey Johnson House. This is the start of season 2 of the Work Still to Be Done Community Conversations, our video interview series of community members, and life in Lane County and Oregon. And I am meeting today with Eric Richardson, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his life in Eugene. And so why don't you introduce yourself, Eric, and tell us a little bit about you and what you do here in Lane County.
All right, yeah. So name's Eric Christian Richardson. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1968. Our family moved out to Oregon for the first time in late 1971. And we've been in Oregon off and on since that time. During growing up with my family, we moved here in 71. Later, we lived in South America, moved back to Eugene, and then we moved away again, lived in Tucson, Arizona, moved back to Eugene, then moved to Miami, moved back to Eugene. And then as I got married, I've lived in Houston, Texas, and in Honolulu, Hawaii, with my family, and then we moved back to Eugene. So we moved back, last time I came back to Eugene was 2005. And we've been here ever since then. And all my kids, I've got 5 kids who we've raised here in Eugene, and they've all graduated from the local public schools. 3 of them graduated from the University of Oregon. And my twins are just in their sophomore year. One going to Lane right now, and the other going to school in Florida. So, I've been married 30 years to my wife, Tamara. Lynn, her maiden name is Anderson. She grew up in Eugene. She was one of the first African-American babies adopted officially into a white family back in 1968. And she was raised out north Eugene, still has some of the track and field records out there. My daughter was able to beat 1 or 2 of her records. And so they're both on the record field at North Eugene. Tamara Anderson and Nina Richardson are there. And so, yeah, so happy to be here with you today and just talk about our experience in Eugene.
So what do you do now?
No.
For those who don't know you.
Okay, yeah. Well, now I've over the last 8 years or so, I've been working with the NAACP. In 2012, I began to volunteer kind of on a regular basis, going to their general meetings. And then in November 2012, they had an election, which we do have every 2 years at the NAACP for our board and our president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. And I was elected president, and so began serving in 2013, and then served for 6 years as president. That's a volunteer position. And then through the years, we kind of just got our footing. 2016, we teamed up with the Mims family and the historic Mims property, and basically became tenants at the Mims house. There's 2 houses on the property, and we're in the back home, the residential home for the Mims family. And so since 2016, we've been here as our community space, our office space, and we've been growing our presence here. And so in 2019, with the help of the Oregon Community Foundation, we received a grant that really kick-started the idea, of our branch having paid staff. And so since 2019, I moved out of the presidential position, and now I am serving as a paid staff member under the title Executive Director of the Eugene Springfield NAACP.
Well, we appreciate you being around and doing that, because you're pretty awesome. So tell us a little bit of what life has been like for you as a person of color in Eugene.
I mean, life in the United States of America for a self-actualized person who is conscious of their surroundings and really pay attention and look around is difficult. There are many questions, unanswered questions. And so I work with the NAACP. We're a 112-year-old organization who has been grappling with race and racism, white supremacy, and how that affects one. And so there are 2 stories. One is that I had a great childhood, and I feel like, and I have wonderful memories of Oregon and of Eugene and of my parents' friends and families, both white and black. But at the same time, I have many horrible stories about racism and about the struggles of being a black person growing up in Oregon, and then in the United States in general, because my parents didn't just come to Oregon just for any particular reason. They left St. Louis in early 70s because of what was happening to our nation after the assassination of the Kennedys and of Martin Luther King, and what that meant for people who really were trying to have an egalitarian outlook and try to reach out across the aisle and thinking about love and peace in the civil rights movement. And then you have these assassinations, and then you have the backlash. So people were really trying to figure out, what that means. And so it's always been a relationship with the greater society and how one can find a place of meaning, a place of dignity, and where one can grow, raise family, and raise people's awareness and consciousness around one. So I think that's been part of the struggle. So our family came to Eugene actualized as a Black family with a culture and a vision. Both my parents were Black artists and Black revolutionaries, if you will, during the late 60s. And the Black Revolution isn't always about taking up arms or doing that. They were artists. And the revolution was about discovering oneself and lifting up one's ancestry and the value of one's culture. When you are being told that there is no value there, or that you have no connection with your ancestral culture or civilization, what they made a revolutionary choice to say, yes, we do. We're going to go back and we're going to reclaim, rediscover, reevaluate who we are in relationship to Black Africa, in relationship to Europe, in relationship to our experience in the Americas, and go forward as citizens of this state, understanding who we have and what we have to offer in a beneficial way. So I've been luckily, even though we are surrounded by a state that is founded on exclusionary laws, very white state, in my home life, I felt very well protected and very well defined as far as beauty, art, purpose, ancestry. And I think that makes a big difference and has made a big difference. No, I think that what it has given is resilience, is to be able to deal with the experiences and not be overcome by them. And so Eugene's a small place. And as an African-American raised in Eugene, graduated from Churchill High School, I can name two people that I know who I grew up with in Eugene who died of HIV, who were Black. I can tell you people who got caught up in the crack epidemic of the 80s in little old Eugene. And that means, and there's not very many African-American people. So if I can start naming off numbers like that, believe me, it has a complete detrimental effect on one's family and all these type of things, and even our relationship and trust, how much open we can be. So my understanding of the Black experience in this area and of people of color and even poor whites is there is a lot of neglect. There's overlooking. There's a lot of people who we need their labor, Black or white or anything, but we're not investing in their education. We're not investing in their spirit and their soul and their just being able to grow and be good people. And, we're satisfied with them staying and languishing in the 9 to 5 with no purpose or value past their labor. And so, but that is not the belief that I was brought up, because the value of someone is in there in the heart and in their spirit and what that one person can give back to their community and whatnot. And they might, whatever their background, they might be the one to come up with the idea that saves us all. So, but we have to kind of believe that, because you know, Black Lives Matter did not exist. It is an organization. It is also something that is divisive because people are confused. So it's called Reconstruction and Deconstruction. After the Civil War, the federal government tried to apply onto the South the federal law that gave Black people equal protection. But they did it at gunpoint for almost 15 to 20 years. So this isn't Black Lives Matter. This is the Constitution of the United States matters. You understand? You dig Black people, which says Black Lives Matter because it says right here. So this is not, so let's be clear and not get sidetracked by using these the latest phrases that come out. Let's not do that. Let's be more classical in our analysis. I would say, so I agree with you. We're in the third deconstruction period. We have Reconstruction, where we're trying to align our society with the values and spirit of our Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, Constitution. And then you have Deconstruction, when you have people push back against it. Oh, you mean women now get to vote? Hell no, we're pushing back. Deconstruct that. You know, and now Black people can ride on the bus now? Hell no, we're gonna deconstruct that. Oh, you get a first Black president? Hell no, we're gonna deconstruct that with Donald Trump. So, so every time it's a pushback, but it's not a pushback against Black people. It's a pushback against the spirit and soul of the United States, as written in our documents. And believe me, those documents were written in the presence of enslaved Africans. They were in the room. And believe me, the hypocrisy was palpable. And they knew it. But yet they proceeded. And so we have to know that and then and say that we are perfecting this. At least they gave us a blueprint that was much better than what was going on for the average European serf in Europe. We had made a step forward, but that step forward was made in partnership with women, Black people, Native Americans, who were in so great numbers and proximity to these white men that the white men in Europe couldn't even understand it. And so that is the value of the United States, is that this didn't exist in a void of white men creating all these documents. It existed with in homes where those white men had Black women, had women of their own, taking care of them and talking to them. They had Black men running their farms, talking to them. And their analysis that those white men came up and put on paper was not just their own. And it was taken from ancient texts who didn't come from Europe. So the whole idea is that this creation of the United States is deeper than the white supremacist education system has allowed us to give analysis to. And I think the more we do it, better off we'll be as a nation, because we'll see our strength in diversity and multicultural values.
So going back to my question before I misspoke, do you feel like there's been any changes in the last year?
Of course. I mean, I don't, there's changes, yes. We got Donald Trump out of office, a big change. We voted in a Democratic thing with complete knowledge of what the opposition was saying. And so that means that in 4 years, enough people saw what was going on and changed their position that we have got a new election. And so that changed, yes. But that came about after 4 years of direct just attack on the spirit and soul of the United States of America by an American president and party. I think we've redoubled our efforts. The Trump administration was a period of deconstruction. They were trying to deconstruct the demographic changes that were happening, the Black emergence of women and Black people and people of color to leadership. We want to stop that. And this is just another effort, like you said, going forward. So that is even more significant than the emergence of Black Lives Matter, I think, because it was not an emergence of Black Lives Matter. The whole story, the whole issue had already been there. Like I said, the NAACP is a Black Lives Matter organization. We don't, but I'm not taking the latest trendy slogan like Black Lives Matter and then applying it to our work. I understand the connection, but it's deeper than that. It's not a slogan where you can say Black Lives Matter, I'm good. No, you need to understand. There needs, our education system has to do a lot better. Our kids need to be educated about purpose, citizenship. What is it? Is it just some antiquated thing for white guys, or is it actually every person has some obligation, duty, responsibility, and authority somehow as a citizen and resident of the United States? So, so I think that a lot of things have changed, and I think the main thing that has changed is that we have this is the reawakening of certain aspects of the Black community, and it's a generational thing. I think that we were decimated in the Black community to a point that people don't really understand the level of decimation, of the level of destruction. And so I'm talking about through the 80s and 90s. Yeah, we had the boom. There's a lot of boom in the economy, people making a lot of money, but the Black population, HIV rates skyrocket, poverty skyrocket, farm and home ownership plummeting, all these other things going on at the same time that we had an expansion in the 90s. But then you had TV showing the good side of life and Black people, Cosby Show, all this other thing. And so it's almost a fantasy on one side and the reality is getting deeper and deeper on the other side. My generation, born 1968, we were attacked. The war on drugs. You can't have 3% Black population in the state of Oregon and 13% in the prison population in Oregon without there being a concerted effort to target that population. The war on drugs was that, and other things, disproportionate contact in the schools so that you were pipelining kids from an early age to drop out and to become victims of that system. Are prey of the system, because I was just talking to somebody today about how certain, what is that? I can't, in Missouri, in St. Louis with Michael Brown, how the whole system, we're preying on poor Black people to pay for the police department. We're going to ticket you, just so we can have the money, and so, and it goes back to that worker thing I was talking about before. Who are we working for? Is it the corporations? Or are we actually trying to support families here? And then who, anyway, so that's kind of where it's at. I'm probably got off of your question again.
All right. So at the end of April, it will be Biden's administration's first 100 days. What are they doing right? What are they doing that could they be doing better, do you think? Do you have any feelings about that?
No, well, I think he's doing a lot right. I mean, the first thing he's doing is saying that the United States of America trusts in science. We have been a leader in supporting science, important technology, and using our resources for the betterment of multiple people through science. And I think that that we have to redouble our efforts in that. So just that alone has been good. And then the efforts, I've received communication from federal agencies that during the last 4 years were silent. And if I called them, I wouldn't get any kind of response. Now I'm receiving calls from those agencies asking, what can we do? We want to work with you. So I can see a change right away. Now, and I think he's given us the opportunity to show leadership in that we are not going to act like they acted. We might still be in opposition, but we're going to try our darndest to work with you. And I think that's a good trait that he's showing and is exhibiting as best he can. We're not going to be fools about it, but I think that we should give it its due diligence.
What can we do to support seeing the continuation of civic engagement that we've been seeing? Right. We had the highest voter turnout that we've had. We've seen a lot more people in the streets. We've seen a lot more engagement. How can we support that? How can we continue that?
Yeah, I think it's become part of the solution. Is that and not only through protest, but through action, through involvement. We need to get more savvy about civic engagement. What does it look like to serve on advisory boards? What does it look like to get on committees and other boards, to serve on nonprofit boards? I think that this whole last year has shown the power of the nonprofit sector. And I think that you and anyone else who would like to help should volunteer with any of the multiple nonprofits that are doing work here. And then in your own organization or business is really making sure that you have integrity when it comes to the mission statement and the values that your business or organization represents, and that you look at the national character of our nation. Not only your bottom line, but how does your business, how do your efforts help our nation to heal and become a better place for all people? I think that is, so it's a patriotic mission in some way, without it being divisive, without it being hateful, but actually is about bringing people together, because we do have a lot of resources in the United States, but they need to be directed in a kind way and with insight and analysis that comes from people who care, and not just from people who are looking at a robotic a diagram of profit and loss.
Great. Is there anything else that the community should know before we wrap up here, Eric?
Yeah, no, yes, that the NAACP is a community-based organization here for all people. We are rooted in the relationship of the Black African story to the United States of America's story. And that means all of us benefit and have a role to play in learning that story, of understanding its value to our particular lives, and how we can all together bring our particular stories to bear. The story of the Irish, the story of the Korean immigrant, the story of the Japanese immigrant, Chinese, and the African slave, who all in many ways were used as workers, as draining ideas that came up with inventions that saved thousands of lives. All these things come from multiple backgrounds and multiple people, but they're all made possible by this experiment we call the United States of America. And I think that we should in some way figure out how we can be proud about that, and how we can team up together to try to make it better going forward. We have our offices are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 2 o'clock now. And we have a food pantry. So we invite you to come to the food pantry and get what you need. We also have a distribution hub with household items from sanitary products to diapers to shampoo, toothbrush, paste. And we also are working with with Lane County Public Health around COVID response. So if you have someone who is 1A, 1B, doesn't matter the age, you can contact our office and we can help to get you signed up for your first shot, or get you pre-registered or things like that. So the office is open and we're doing work, and I just want people to come down, check us out. But yeah, we have the Annie Mims Public Library is here. We've got about 2,000 selections, mostly African-American studies, women's studies, Native American studies, some art, and we have a really strong children's collection of books as well. We work with Smart Reading Program, and we purchase books ourselves for the kids. So some of those are free. So if you bring your kids down, you can look through there and take whatever books are on the shelf that are free. And then the other ones are in the catalog, so you can check them out 2 weeks at a time. And then our environmental climate justice work is going very strong. April 24th. You can put that on your calendar. We're going to be having a community event at Our Redeemer Lutheran Church, which is the site of the new Annie Mims Community Garden, which is up and running now and is going to be growing at that church, and it's free to the public. Go there, glean whatever you need, and we hope to grow that project. And so just keep check us out, naacplanecounty.org. We hope to post all that information out there, and hope to see you at one of those events. And also we do have committees: the Legal Redress Committee, Education Committee, Health Committee, Environmental Climate Justice Committee, and Educate. Did I miss one? Oh yeah, it seemed like I missed one. Housing Committee. And the Housing Committee is very new, but it's going to be very important going forward as like everybody's dealing with the pandemic and all the different lack of resources out there. We want to try to see what we can do to help.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you for being here with us today, Eric. We really appreciate it. It's been very, very educational. And I'll let you get on with your important work. And,
yeah, no, I'm going to go hang out with Noreen from the United Way of Lane County. They do good work. Yeah, I serve on the United Way board and Habitat for Humanity Oregon. Just put a shout out to them. The whole idea is that let's not be in silos. Let's team up with the people in our community doing good work, and we can do this together. So thank you, Leah.